Coming up on Cronkite NewsWatch.
A big decision in the NBA has many wondering about the future of the Clippers and their owner.
Plus,
it's just amazing watching her dream come true.
How the mother of one young girl is continuing her legacy in helping kids with cancer.
And the growth of one university is causing problems in the surrounding neighborhoods.
In-depth, insightful, innovative. Cronkite NewsWatch starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite NewsWatch. I'm Lauren Wells.
And I'm Dom DeFurio. It's a big day for the NBA as a decision is made in the Donald Sterling case.
Cronkite sports reporter Nick Merrick joins us with more.
The buzz around the world is the racist comments made by the Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling. The NBA commissioner Adam Silver held a press conference today, and he went out with a big statement.
I am banning Mr. Sterling for life. I am also fining Mr. Sterling $2.5 million.
Now, Commissioner Silver has a lot of support from the basketball community, including the Suns. Earlier today, the Suns followed suit with the Clippers on their website saying, "We are one," to show their support of the decision. And the Suns' managing partner, Robert Sarver, had this to say about the decision. "I applaud the actions taken today by Commissioner Silver in response to the disturbing comments made by Donald Sterling. The commissioner has my full support." Along with the lifetime ban and the fine, Commissioner Silver also said he wants to force the sale of the Clippers. Coming up later in sports, we'll have reactions from NBA players on today's decision. I'm Nick Merrick, Cronkite Sports.
Leaking fuel from underground storage tanks contaminates our soil, water, and threatens our environment.
Investigative reporter Alex Lanciel tells us more about the financial cost of these leaks.
For years, Arizona's Auditor General has warned the Department of Environmental Quality that it needs to do more so taxpayers aren't stuck with the bill.
Out of sight and out of mind, billions of gallons of gasoline are pumped into your car from underground storage tanks. But even though they're invisible to you, they're buried right under your feet. And when a tank leaks, it can cost you millions of dollars.
Last year, 2013, where again we looked at this program and identified ongoing challenges for the department in ensuring that owners were complying with their financial responsibility requirements.
That's because the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality has failed to make sure all tank owners have enough financial coverage for repairs. And if they can't pay, the state picks up the tab. In 2010, a gas station in Tempe had a tank leak, but the owner couldn't pay to clean it up.
The estimate that was provided ranged from, I think, about $500,000 to $1.5 million to perform that cleanup.
A cleanup cost that the state may have to bear, and the owners of these tanks are supposed to have insurance to pay for cleanup costs.
We currently do not get notified if you quit paying your premiums. This is pretty much found out during an inspection.
Inspections that only happen every 3 years. And in the past 3 years, almost 45 million taxpayer dollars have been spent cleaning up leaks and spills. Because as of last year, more than 30% of tank owners had no financial coverage.
It's a legal requirement for them to have. It just appears to have been a challenge over the years for the owners and operators to meet that requirement.
Gas stations like this one have been abandoned, but the problem remains underground. With more than 700 tank cleanups still underway, the costs will continue.
The state's environmental agency told us more people are now assigned to monitor whether tank owners have enough money for cleanups. For the investigative team, I'm Alex Lanciel, Cronkite News.
Arizona gets close to 300 days per year of sunshine, and yet another company is choosing to cash in.
Reporter Shane Dwyer is live in downtown Phoenix with details on the project taking shape in South Chandler. Shane?
Dom, since 2004, the Salt River Project has been offering incentives to companies to partially remove themselves from the power grid and produce their own solar power. Earlier today, one more company joined that growing list. Now, textile manufacturer Bonded Logic held a groundbreaking ceremony today for their solar array in Chandler. The 65,000 square foot field, which will be one of the largest privately held fields in the state, will help power the factory, which produces insulation products from recycled denim jeans. Now, Bonded Logic's products are used in homes all across the country and even in the Staples Center in Los Angeles. The new solar option is going to allow the Arizona-based manufacturer to stay competitive.
We anticipate it's going to offset 26% of our actual usage, and we anticipate a payback period of only about 8 years. So financially, it's going to have a really positive effect on our company.
Now, the solar field will power the factory, and it's about equivalent to taking 800 homes per year off of the main grid. Now, Bonded Logic joins 20 other customers who have already signed up for the SRP incentive this fiscal year, who are already creating their own solar power on their land. Live in downtown Phoenix, I'm Shane Dwyer, Cronkite News.
If you step foot on Grand Canyon University's campus, you'll notice a lot of people.
That's right. The university has grown from 1,000 students in 2008 to 8,500 students today.
This increase in students has caused the school to expand into the surrounding neighborhood.
But some community members say this expansion is leaving them in the dust. Investigative reporter Yahira Jaquez has more.
I talked to several community members who don't like the changes, but university officials tell me expansion is exactly what the university and community need. As Grand Canyon University expands its Phoenix campus, some are excited.
Ultimately, it gives a lot more opportunity for students.
Others worry.
Its growth came as a surprise.
And at least one person says he's taking a loss.
I lost a house, and I can't go out and get another one like it.
GCU plans to grow from 8,500 students to 11,000 by fall 2015. And projects are underway to make room for them.
We'll be adding a dormitory or two per year and a classroom building per year for the next 3 to 4 years.
Their priority?
Grand Canyon is committed to the west side, the improvement of education in the west side, so that we can take this neighborhood and really lift it.
But at what cost?
When residential property gets to be snapped up, regardless of how poor it is or how poor the people who live there, that's a loss.
Steady growth has prompted GCU and other companies to buy properties around the school. The most recent company, Shoe LLC, bought out the Quattro's condo complex in the corner of 35th and Missouri.
I just don't think it's a good strategy to simply say we're going to tear those places down.
In the end, I was given $50,000 for the unit.
When 80% of the Quattro's units were bought out by Shoe, residents like Paul Udave had no choice but to sell and leave.
I'm on unlimited income. I retired, and I had financial problems a few years back.
The complex Paul once called home now belongs to GCU, who purchased it last week.
It'll be a beautiful part of the campus and really add to the neighborhood compared to what it was.
Sevilla neighborhood leader Jamie Johnson also thinks it's good for GCU to expand into areas that need improvement.
Some of those townhomes in the time frame they were built weren't really high quality homes, and it actually might be a good thing that those things are converted to something else.
Phoenix Councilman Daniel Valenzuela serves the area and says the university is an asset.
The vision that I have for the community is an all-inclusive community, one that really creates healthy, safe neighborhoods, and GCU has been an asset to that vision.
The university says it plans to have 18,000 students on its campus in the next 4 to 5 years as it steps up its efforts to expand. For the investigative team, I'm Yahira Jaquez, Cronkite News.
Seniors from Grand Canyon University have already said goodbye to their campus, but many other students are still gearing up for the big graduation day. Cronkite News reporter Megan Thompson joins us now to tell us what graduates can expect when it comes time to find a job.
Despite all the obvious nervous energy and excitement, there's good news when it comes to the number of college graduates finding jobs right after school. A National Association of College and Employers report expects U.S. college hiring to increase nearly 8% compared to the class of 2013. And it was a mixed bag of reaction when I talked to students today. From stress to confidence, every student is feeling something.
I like to see people that have like previous work experience, and so I really wanted to get the job, so I stressed out about it a lot actually. And
I'm not too nervous about it. I think something good will come. I'm just going to keep my options open. I think that's one of the biggest things you have to do is really just keep your options open.
Oh, definitely excited about it just because, you know, it's graduating college and that's the next step and all that. So it's been a good ride.
Now, all these students I talked to mentioned one crucial thing to me, internships, and the National Association of College and Employers agrees. They say it's one of the best ways to get experience, adding value to you as a potential hire. Megan Thompson, Cronkite News.
Each year, more than 13,000 children are diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. Cronkite News reporter Brittany Thomason shows us how the mother of one of them has found a way to comfort sick children, and at the same time, she's helping her own daughter's memory live on.
Like any child, Amanda Hope was embarrassed when she had to undress for chemo treatments.
Getting her port accessed and hated everyone seeing her body.
In the dark world of cancer, the 12-year-old dreamed of filling her world with color.
She said, "Mommy, we need to design a shirt that we don't have to take off when we get our chemotherapy."
Amanda Hope hoped she'd get better. She didn't. Her dying wish? To give other kids with cancer the gift of dignity. That's when Mom stepped in. They're called Comfy Cozy shirts.
She's like, "Mom, promise every child. And I'm like, "Yeah, honey, we're gonna do it." And so after Amanda had passed, we started her dream.
Thank you.
You're welcome, baby.
These comfy cozies include zippers, so it makes it easier for the children to put their ports in.
It keeps you warm.
Now, Mom is giving kids like Rebecca Amanda's gift.
Do whatever you want. You can zip it down or button it down.
It's just amazing watching her dream come true.
In just over 2 years, Amanda's dream of comfort with cancer has helped more than 2,500 children across the world.
Until they find a cure, we're going to be there every day. So that's our dream.
A dream in color, just like Amanda wanted. In Phoenix, Brittany Thomason, Cronkite News.
The Comfy Cozy shirts are free to patients, and Lorraine hopes to give out 10,000 Comfy Cozy shirts this year.
A Valley vet who specializes in cancer treatment is experimenting with a new machine. Reporter Nathan Delatorre tells us how some animals are getting a second chance.
You just have to get some love instead of a treat.
This is Flojo. A head injury gives her a condition where she constantly spins around when she's excited. One Valley veterinarian is trying to help this dizzy puppy.
I have always had a passion for animals. We grew up with all kinds of dogs and cats, and I loved horses.
Dr. Betsy Hershey has the only hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber for small animals in Arizona, and Flojo is one of her first patients.
If you had a little dog like Tramp here who had burns, for example, he'd enter the hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber for a couple times a week for a period of 2 to 3 months.
And the animal is breathing in oxygen at a much higher pressure than what we would normally breathe at sea level. So by increasing the amount of pressurized oxygen that the animal breathes in, we can increase the oxygen to the tissues, and that can be very, very healing.
Dr. Hershey is an oncologist and focuses on treating animals with cancer.
Many of the tumors we're treating are considered terminal, and our patients are surviving longer with the combination of the hyperbaric therapy.
These are some before and after photos of animals treated in the hyperbaric chamber. Veterinarians are still exploring the different ways this new technology can help animals.
We love to use the hyperbaric oxygen chamber more. We're very interested in anything that it can help. So for those of patients that need it, it's here.
In Phoenix, Nathan Delatorre, Cronkite News.
Flojo had a straight tail after her injury, but thanks to her treatment, her tail is now back to being curly, and she's still running circles around her foster parents.
Coming up on NewsWatch.
Having a mental illness isn't easy, and one local high school student is trying to change the way we see the disease.
It's just as competitive as any sport, but these students aren't running around a field. They're doing this all in the name of science. Americans is estimated to have a diagnosable mental health disorder, and 3 teens are trying to erase the stigma associated with these types of illnesses. Their journey has taken them all the way to the nation's capital. Cronkite News reporter Jillian Idle has more from our Washington bureau. Jillian?
18-year-old Shelly Ortiz and 2 of her classmates have created a short film and are asking Congress to focus more on mental health issues this year.
Of support for treatment.
It began as a school project, making a documentary for a C-SPAN competition.
We just tried to pick what was most prominent in our lives and what we were most passionate about so that we could really make it the best that we could make it.
For Shelly and her 2 classmates, coming up with the topic wasn't hard.
A lot of my friends are diagnosed with different mental illnesses, so that was the extent of my knowledge from what they were living, and I mean, they were struggling for years.
Their main goal, to educate others and urge Congress to work on this issue.
That by having that help early on, it's easy to normalize it in your life.
Their short film is titled Diagnosing the Problem and is one of 5 now gaining national recognition.
When you get just that little bit of recognition to say, okay, someone is watching my film and someone's relating to it, and it might not be the best film in the world, but someone is relating to it and it's helping them get past maybe a certain point in their life, maybe it even just changed their day. That's what keeps me going as a filmmaker, and that is probably the biggest accomplishment that I've had so far.
Shelly was in D.C. accepting the award on behalf of her team, but hopes Congress will continue to focus on mental health issues.
To Congress, my team and I would just really like some recognition to drop the stigma, to give more money to the organizations so that people aren't afraid to admit to their diagnosis, that it's not something to be ashamed of.
Shelly says she is going to continue making documentaries and she plans to study film in college. Reporting live in Washington, D.C., Jillian Idle, Cronkite News.
Another group of students from the Valley brought their skills to D.C. Reporter Mackenzie Scott caught up with them at the National Science Bowl.
It requires teamwork, mental toughness, long hours of preparation, and a passion for science. The best teams in the nation came out in full force to compete in the National Science Bowl. These students represent the best of the best, but for Arizona's Desert Vista High School, it's been a hard-fought journey to return to nationals.
This particular team had to come from behind. They had to beat Brophy College Prep twice in the very championship rounds in order to make this trip. We've been trying to come back ever since 2011. We came in second 2 years in a row, so we've been battling every year to come back.
Only 48 high school and 68 middle school teams from across the country made it to nationals. Although the bowl has a hands-on competition, it is the academic competition that Desert Vista says is their strength.
I feel like we're more confident with our ability to play on buzzers, especially because we play Quiz Bowl instead of Science Bowl usually before this, and that gets us a lot of practice on buzzers.
But like any sporting competition, the biggest challenge for competitors is to keep their emotions in check.
Correct. The biggest hurdle, I think, at nationals is really it's emotional, playing your best mental game. So if you lose a few rounds, you can't get down about it. You have to have a lot of resilience.
Reporting from Washington, Mackenzie Scott, Cronkite News.
And they definitely showed that resilience. Although they didn't advance to semifinals, they did tie for second place in their division and even defeated the top team of their division. Arizona Middle School basis Scottsdale made it all the way to the quarterfinals before being knocked out.
Coming up on NewsWatch.
How one of our nation's national treasures is now a tribute to those who lost their lives.
Winds may be picking up for us here, but it's tornado season for others. Find out where in your weather next.
NewsWatch is one of the really big things I will always remember for the rest of my life.
You're lugging around all of your equipment, you are doing all of the work, and that's what makes it so fulfilling to me.
Being an anchor, I think it's a privilege. I enjoy every moment of it.
Seeing your show on air, it is one of the most surreal feelings ever.
A plane crash over the Grand Canyon 58 years ago is still getting attention today. On June 30th, 1956, 2 passenger planes collided over the Colorado River near Char Butte and Temple Butte. And as reporter Vivian Padilla tells us, the victims are now being remembered.
Marshall Trimble was 17 and on a date when he heard news he never thought he'd hear.
Turned up the radio and my date and I both were just, couldn't believe 2 planes collided over the Grand Canyon.
In 1956, a United Airlines flight to Chicago and a Trans World Airlines plane bound for Kansas City collided in midair.
Pretty common for planes to veer off course to give their passengers a view of the Grand Canyon.
On a sunny day, you can see forever across the Grand Canyon, but the day of the crash was a cloudy one, and there was just 1,000 feet of altitude between the planes. The theory is they never saw each other.
Must have clipped the left wing, clipped the back end, and it just began to tear the whole tail off of the TWA, and they said, "We're going in." And that was the last they heard.
All 128 passengers died.
It was the 9/11 of the day. That accident had such a profound effect on federal aviation in general and many technologies and policies or even agencies.
Which is why the U.S. Department of the Interior made the site of the accident a national landmark.
This accident woke up the industry. Just a real freak accident.
But to many, this new landmark will serve as a tribute to those lost over the Grand Canyon.
You'd remember that a great tragedy occurred here.
Vivian Padilla, Cronkite News.
The site is in a remote area of the canyon, making it difficult to reach, although up until the 1970s, you could still find debris.
At least 35 people have been killed from the tornadoes ripping through the South, and at least 12 of those deaths were from Mississippi alone, where multiple tornadoes hit Monday night. The first tornado ripped through Tupelo, another in a nearby county, and 2 more touched down in Jackson in the same night. Right now, at least 16 Mississippi counties are reporting tornado damage, and injuries are still unknown. You can see behind me on the radar the storm moving in a counterclockwise motion. The storm is not hitting the South as much as it was yesterday, but it's still hitting the Alabama and Georgia area a little bit more than it is Mississippi. You can see the storm is weakening off and moving up to the East Coast, where it is hitting the New York area and all those states along the East Coast, wrapping around to the Midwest, where it's causing heavy rain and thunderstorms for those states over there. Winds may be picking up for us here in Arizona, but it's probably not as bad as it is in the South. With 35 in Bullhead, 16 in Tucson, 13 in Winslow, and 17 in Flagstaff. But right now in Phoenix, we are at 85 with clear skies and winds at about 21 miles per hour. Highs for tomorrow, though, we will warm up with a high of 92 in Yuma, 68 in Page, and 60 in Show Low, and 85 in Tucson. As we enter the next 5 days, though, we will reach the triple digits. High of 90 tomorrow with clear skies, and a high of 100 on Saturday and Sunday. That's it for your Cronkite weather. I'm Taylor Bryant.
Today, Clippers owner Donald Sterling joins the 1918 Black Sox Pete Rose and Richard Dumas as the most recent person to be suspended from his sport for life. And players past and present like the message being sent.
I'm thrilled that with the outcome. I think most of the players I've spoken to just since the press conference feel the same way.
This is a really proud day for all of us players, for our league.
And now that Sterling is out of the picture, the Clippers can focus on the Golden State Warriors. Now Lob City takes on Golden State tonight in a pivotal Game 5. The series is tied at 2, and the Thunder and Grizzlies are also tied at 2 and will also play tonight. And we can't leave out the Wizards. John Wall and his ragtag group look to close out their series with a win tonight in Chicago and advance to the second round of the playoffs. And after last night's win over the Pacers, the Atlanta Hawks are only 1 win away from upsetting the #1 seed. We go to Indiana, and ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce Mr. Mike Smith. Watch and learn. Smith, a perfect 5 for 5 from 3 land in the second quarter. The Hawks outscore Indiana 41-19 in the quarter and win 107-97. But the Hawks aren't the only team on track to win a championship. Cronkite sports reporter Michael Candaris went to Chandler High to find out how one team stays on the winning path.
Get off now. Come on. Pure dominance. The Chandler High girls track and field team is unstoppable. 8 years, 8 titles, and a whole lot of pressure. The team wants to capture their 9th state championship in a row. Go hard! Which Coach Eric Richardson says is something they expect.
We're going to work extremely hard, and we're going to compete even harder and expect to win.
He brings a culture of winning that is unparalleled in any other Arizona program.
Discipline, determination, drive, all of that. Yeah, talent helps, but if you're not real disciplined, don't have strong leadership and all of that, you don't win.
You better learn how to finish stuff. Stars are always needed to win championships, and for Chandler, their star is Kai Westbrook.
The most competitive person that we've ever had.
Come on, Kai. Westbrook is the most dominant 100, 200, and 400 meter sprinter in the state and is top 5 in the nation. As the leader of the pack, she knows she isn't above the team.
We are a team and not a group of individuals wearing the same uniform.
Westbrook is a senior and knew from the start of her career that this program was special.
My perception of it coming in was, wow, like I'm about to be part of something big.
And if the Lady Wolves can win their 9th title, that will be something big. In Chandler, I'm Michael Kinderis, Cronkite Sports.
Now Westbrook and the rest of the Wolves will get their chance at a title at the state championships on May 9th. And while the Wolves race to the finish line, the D-backs are going with the old mantra, slow and steady wins the race. The only problem is it doesn't win any games. Last night, the Rockies rolled into town, fast forward, top of the 6th, tie game. No, wait, come back. There's no one in the stands to catch you. Tulowitzki goes yard, and 3 batters later, Justin Morneau does the same. Diamondbacks lose again, 7-5. Almost embarrassing, Dom. I'm going to have to go with absolutely embarrassing.
Is it still early enough in the season? Do we have a chance? Or
I don't know, but what I do know is that the only thing on every Mets fan in the world's mind right now is, can the Diamondbacks lose 100 more games?
Of course, a Mets fan. Well, that's all we have. That's it for Cronkite NewsWatch tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.